Good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Aklima Bibi, your host and human rights lawyer. Today's discussion will be on a subject of a social issue that no one wants to talk about: the abuse of spouse visa system. While we discuss this matter, if anybody has any comments, please do let us know on social media or by email on letstalkaboutit@lb24.tv. Anyway, to discuss this, I have with me at the studio Arthika Oberoi, a businesswoman, a success coach, and a mother who has wealth of experience working within the community, and someone who feels very strongly about the many issues around us. Arthika, thank you for coming to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Aklima.
Okay, let's talk about it.
That's right.
This abuse
That's
of
right.
spouse visa system.
Yeah.
I feel, with the Home Office, with the income threshold and the immigration rules, it's very, very strict. I feel it's unfair. How do you feel about that?
I think it's fair. I strongly believe it's a fair decision that's been made, only because, Aklima, of what I have experienced in the past with many people in the community.
Yeah, but no, come on.
I know I can't base myself on what I've seen or what I've heard.
No, I've seen it and I've experienced it.
But I feel that there's got to be a limit and a criteria that's been put in.
Only but it's preventing. How do you know? It used to be, okay, there was this abuse of visa system, okay, by many.
Used to be?
Well,
I think it's still going on.
It's still going on, but I still feel that there must be. You can't brush everybody with the same brush.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay,
but what I've experienced, Aklima, and what I have dealt with in the community, it's a larger population that have come forward with the same situation. I'm not saying that there is not genuine spouse out there that want to come here, but very few.
Very few.
And to be honest, there is a certain reason why this threshold has been come into the system.
I still feel, well, some of the cases. You give me some of the case scenarios.
Well,
within the community. I come from the bank.
I don't want to be sitting here all day, Aklima, because I have many cases to say.
No,
but what
I
I'm
have
trying
to agree
to say
with
yourself is looking back on what we've experienced through our charity.
Okay, you come from Pakistani heritage. Okay, Pakistani
That's
background.
Right.
I come from Bangladeshi background, and I've seen, I've heard, I've experienced firsthand as well how many partners come over here and they marry. Men or women, just to purely come for the spouse visas. But I still feel it's unfair. I still feel, just because of, many bad ones, few good ones going to be.
I think what it is it's not really seeing what they've come here for. I think it's the most majority of people that have experienced it. I think that's the reason why this threshold has come to the core, really.
Is it preventing? Is it stopping?
It is preventing. I have seen many people that have not seen their spouses since they've returned back, or their visas are on hold.
But my experience, is, I deal with immigration law, and I find it quite appalling that many partners are being prevented from joining their partners, and children as well.
I do understand that. I fully understand that, but there has to be a limit.
Yeah, I suppose, Are you saying that, just because, many abuse the system, we have to make this, and if they can't afford to bring their partners over and look after them, they shouldn't come over here? Is that, your opinion?
I'm not saying that. I just feel that it was placed for a reason, and I just think it's quite fair in putting that into the system. I mean, there's a lot of ways around it. I mean, there may be a lot of ways around it. However, there's a lot of people that have abused the system, and coming to that situation, there always has to be a limit.
Well, I suppose, when you say abuse the system, okay, they're coming purely for the visa purpose, but are you saying, well, I don't know, maybe, it's my experience as well.
No one knows that, whether they're going to be coming here for the visa purpose.
Until they actually leave? Until they actually
leave. And until other people experience it. I had a case of a woman who was happily married. Everything went well. And as soon as the other spouse got their visa for an entry clearance into this country or stay in this country without any reason whatsoever,
Yeah.
left.
I don't
So
know.
this
because
experience, I mean, this is what it is. I mean, you know, either it's there's a loophole in the situation, there's a dilemma, or you know, the system has just gone haywire.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's the system. I think it's the people themselves, isn't it? I mean, I couldn't, the system is there. You could get married, bring your wife, live happily, or husbands, live happily ever after.
So
But
if
the
it's not the
people
system, so why are you saying it's very unfair?
well, I think,
Because it's the system, isn't it? It's the system.
I don't know.
that's
Maybe it's, like, I don't know whether I'm actually going to be, what do you call this? Supporting the Home Office and supporting the system. I don't, but at the end of the day, I feel unfair for the few genuine cases.
Right.
You can't, you don't know.
No, you can't judge. That's right. I
Yeah,
do
but you
understand
don't
that.
know the genuine cases. If you're going to be limiting and restricting genuine, couple, genuine, family from reuniting, it's like you're judging them. You're judging them
That's
for the
right.
abuse that's already happened,
That's right.
the loophole that's been used.
But what about the people that are suffering, Iklima? What
Yeah.
about the people? What about the spouses that are living here as single parents, men or women? What about the ones that have not seen their fathers again? What about the children that have not seen their mothers again?
Yeah, but sometimes
What's
don't
happening
you
about
think a lot of these are arranged marriages? I presume I don't from my experience from the Bangladeshi community, a lot of these are arranged marriages. I mean, wouldn't they? I would actually say it's the family who arranges it. They should have actually checked the background. You don't pick. I mean, a lot of these marriages happen because they want to get their own family members. So, don't you think there's some elements of greed?
Like I said, I mean, you can say it's the mindset of a person that's coming here, but until they don't do it or they walk away, then you realise that why they came here in the first place. I mean, no one knows.
Well, to be honest with you,
if somebody knew, do
Yeah.
you think they would be suffering by it right now? No.
well, I suppose it's same with
So
domestic
it's a tried
violence
and
victims, the
tested
same
system.
thing, isn't it?
It's somebody
But
coming here and experiencing that situation, and that's the reason why I feel it's fair.
okay, I suppose it's fair. I suppose there is some element of fairness in there as well. But going back to my own opinion, I still think it's unfair. But I have to agree with you with the abuse of the system because I recently had a call on a family matter. She's married her first cousin.
Right.
She was married previously before, and she's got 3 children. And he pretended this is her first cousin. This is, I think, her mother and her husband's mother are sisters. And after he's obtained the visa, and he's recently got a child as well. He's obtained the temporary leave, and then he has a child who is a British child. And then he says, "Well, I don't need you anymore."
Right.
And she was crying on the phone, saying, "My mother-in-law, who's my own aunt, is talking to my husband, saying, 'Leave her now. She's older than you. She's been married before. You can come back home to Bangladesh and marry somebody younger.'" And he's saying, "But I haven't got my ILR."
So are you saying it's an influence of the family?
To be honest with you, it's not influence because at the end of the day, he's not, the husband or the partner, he's not disabled, he's not autistic, he's got a brain of his own. This is his wife, this is his family. So why should family interfere? There is a lot of influence within our community.
Well, this is ethnic minority you're talking about, Iklima.
I don't know whether it's ethnic minority or is it predominantly the Southeast Asian?
No, I think it's entire. I mean, it's a cultural thing as well. I mean,
Nothing to do with religion, is it?
It's nothing to do with religion. I think it's a cultural thing. I think when it comes down to situations or decisions, there always have to be an opinion of a family member, if not a family member, the whole of the family get together. So I think it's probably the
Why do they do that, though? You know,
I think, like I said, I think it's a
this
cultural thing. It's come from the ancestry situation. They've always been like that, and they will never change.
You really think so?
I
I'm
do
beginning
think
to feel
so.
like that as well.
No.
You know, we can teach. I mean, this is, this show is all about, to be able, to be an eye opener. But
Yeah.
do you think there's going to be any changes? If we create awareness, the education.
I mean, they could be.
Is there
we're
hope?
always hoping.
Yeah,
We're always hoping for
hoping.
change. There could be, but there's a lot of like I said to you, regarding family and culture and the system and the situation. Many people don't want to come forward and state their, you know, their affairs or whatever's going on with their life.
That's
So
mental. That's domestic violence, isn't it? Mental and physical torture.
No,
What would-
it's not domestic violence in the such. It's just trying to keep the respect of the community.
Honor. It's
And
going
it's
back to
honor.
honor.
Yeah.
But there's a the other thing I wanted to understand is, you know, I don't want to be, you know, sort of just say that it's women, but I haven't had any men come forward and say they've been abused and they've been used for the visa system. It's women, you know, young women in this country, even, you know, women who's been married before. They're saying like, he uses my previous marriage and say, I was a bachelor, you are a divorcee. And it's a constant non-stop, not only from the husband or the partner, the whole entire family. It's like, you know, a person...
Maybe there is a majority of men that are suffering out there. Maybe there is this majority of men that are going through exactly what women are. But until they don't come forward, no one's
At the
gonna ever
moment,
know.
what you're saying is the women who's
That's
been
right.
used
That's
for
right,
visa
because
purposes.
many
then.
women come forward.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's, you know, of domestic violence, abuse, physical, verbal abuse. It's children. You know, many of the women here are single parents, left with the child. Obviously, the man doesn't walk off with the child. He leaves the child with
Oh
with the
my
mother.
God! Do you know what? The other thing is, this is, you know, no disrespect to anyone, but I find that the Bangladeshi community, men mostly, leave their spouses, like you said. Now I'm coming to think about it, you know, and with children as well. But the problem is, no maintenance. They don't pay any maintenance because they say they've got family back home. And CSA don't chase them because they say, well, he's not earning enough. They get cash in hand. I just find it quite outrageous that you could not only use a woman. I mean, the reason I'm saying women is because I haven't had any men come forward.
But is it using, Akleema? Is it using?
I think it's using.
I think that's very harsh word, Akleema.
But I think it's using because at the end of the day, if the marriage doesn't work, you should actually reconcile. You should mediate. You should
I think
go
what
to
it
marriage
is, it
council.
doesn't really come to an amicable agreement within the Bangladeshi or the Pakistani or the Asian community.
Yeah.
Reason being is there's always torture and revenge at the end. And what happens is...
Torture and revenge is a harsh
That's
word as
right.
well. Now, how does that come? Are we going to go into an honor base? I mean, you know, we're smiling about it because,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like, you know, the culture is so embedded.
Yeah.
We can't change. I mean,
That's right.
you know,
That's
I'm
right.
just smiling because,
That's right. And
you know,
no
I
one
feel
moves with the time, and that's the problem. The problem that we're facing is not many people want to move with the time where they can go and get marriage counselling or therapy or anger management. They're not willing to do that.
Well, there you go then. Then it's used. I mean, it's a harsh word, but then, you know, one has been used for the
But then
purpose of
isn't
a
the
visa.
other side not willing to go for anger management? Maybe there's another side to it. It's not only the other partner, it can be the other partner as well. So we are here looking at both partners and their situations.
But how can you be both partners? Because, okay, you know, as much as I sort of like think the Home Office is unfair with all the restrictions of the immigration rules and everything else,
You do strongly believe on what the decision I've made, what the opinion I've come up with.
Yeah, you think it's fair,
Yeah.
but I feel it's unfair as well because there are the minority
And this
good
is the
people
reason
out there.
why. And this is the reason why, because of what you're saying now, this is the reason why I think it's a fair situation.
But I don't think it's going to stop. But okay, it's deterring to some extent. But you know, there's a new rule coming out on I think August 10th. Third-party sponsorship will be acceptable now.
Oh, right. Okay.
So there's going to be another loophole. So there's going to be, you know, is it fair to say that there's going to be more abuse? It's, you know, we are making opinions that, which is true to an extent. Because, you know, with the stories we heard, the cases I hear or I deal with, it's the same thing. You know, it's predominantly women who say they've been used. But, you know, when I am actually saying it's women because It's the abuse. The reason for the abuse
Are
is.
you pointing that at me?
No, I'm sorry, but I'm still kind of no, sorry, because I'm still thinking. Okay, back of my mind, I'm still thinking the unfairness of the Home Office. You're saying they're fair,
Right.
but despite my own opinion about the issues, of the abuse of the visa
Shall we
system.
take a break?
Shall we take a break? Are we going to come back? Are we angry at each other? All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Welcome back. So let's talk about it, where we left off. And my opinion is about the Home Office. I still feel they're unfair, so Artika.
Okay.
Like I said, they're
Aklima,
preventing.
let's talk about the, obviously it's called the abuse system.
Okay.
Why is that actually happening? Why are we calling it the abuse system?
Artika, there are abuse of the system, visa system. I think, so many people are actually abusing the system. We get, bogus marriages. We're having, people getting married purely for the purpose of, gaining
Is it because
an entry.
people are not seeking the right advice before they go abroad and get married?
Actually, no, to be honest with you, in my opinion, I think, everybody wants to, they've searched here. Maybe they want somebody from their, culture and background.
But
I don't
surely
think
marriage
it's wrong.
is a big commitment, and I think when you go abroad to get married to somebody, or even when you marry anybody,
but
you generally do seek advice.
It's not. I don't think you seek advice. I mean, I disagree with that, because at the end of the day, you want to get married, you want to live happily ever after.
Yes, but surely you want to bring your partner over here eventually, so you are going to be seeking advice before you take the plunge.
I suppose research. I suppose you're going to be. Yes, I suppose it's not seeking advice. That's kind of a bit too sort of. It's like going for a job, going into business. This is a commitment. This is more personal. This is more intimate.
But what I'm trying to get at here, and you're not understanding what I'm trying to say. Marriage, yes, you fall in love with somebody, you want to go and get married, but I'm sure you need to seek advice from a solicitor or anybody that will give you that advice to say how you can bring your partner into this country.
That's fine. I mean, that side. Okay.
It's generally a natural thing. I mean, if I was going to marry somebody,
everybody
I would surely want to know.
I think everybody does that before they travel.
I would surely want to know, okay, I'm going to be married, but I'm going to be coming back here. Would I be able to bring my partner back here?
That's professional advice. Everybody, I mean,
that's right.
I do immigration law, and they seek advice from a lawyer.
Why is the system being abused?
Abuse is you don't know people's intention. Same as cases of domestic violence.
Right.
You enter into a relationship. Once you experience bad experiences, then you find out that there is a history behind it.
Right.
Same with when you're getting married. If somebody wants to get married, let's say somebody from their own country of origin, obviously they know the person. They will get a second opinion. Relatives will actually say, no, he's a good person. He's got good moral character.
And are we basing the abuse system? Sorry, I'm cutting you off, Aklima, like I always
do.
do.
No, that's fine.
And are you basing, or are we basing? Because it is our show.
Yeah.
Are we basing the abuse system on the consequences?
No, I'm actually basing it. My opinion is the abuse of the visa system is people do pretend to be someone who they're not. And this is where I'm actually, quite upset. Because many people from the UK, let's say British citizens, British settled, they do want to have arrangement, which marriages or even love marriages. They've probably chosen somebody from their own country of origin, and do you know what? They want to get married. They want to have, like I said earlier, happily ever after. But the person who's marrying to come to the UK, join their spouses here in the UK, you don't know their intentions.
Right.
You know, they're not going to actually declare. And I think what they're doing, a lot of the cases you and I've seen,
That's right.
they've got exterior motives. They come over here, they think I've got the
Yeah.
visa, you know, I don't need anyone else. You know,
Yeah.
it's either my way or the
Yeah.
highway.
That's
you know,
right.
as we know.
That's right.
I call
Yeah.
that an abuse
Yeah.
because abuse of trust,
Yeah.
abuse of, you know, the marital contract. You know, even if you look at it Islamically or religiously.
So this will never stop because obviously there is nothing. I mean, obviously you're saying you don't know what the motive is.
Yeah, until it happens.
Until it happens.
Yeah.
But it's happened so many times. And why are they still being allowed to come here? And why are we or a British citizen or anybody from this country are being allowed to go abroad and get married?
Well, that's going to be against one's human rights.
I know that is.
There you go.
But
You mean, you can't. I don't think anyone will be prevented from getting married.
Exactly. You can't prevent the system at all.
Yeah.
So either, like I said, you know, some professional advice needs to be put in.
Well,
but then saying that, okay, people. This is where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to say on a professional level, Klima, that they need to seek advice. But what happens is when they come here and experience these sort of things, they then say it's abuse. But why do it in the first place?
It is an abuse. Then it will be an abuse.
Why go through that in the first place when you've heard so many stories and your neighbour has gone through that, your aunt across the road has gone through that, but you've still gone ahead and got married and come back here?
Because everybody hopes that their marriage is going to be.
Exactly.
You know, you can't judge someone, like you said, you know, somebody's neighbours went through the same thing, somebody's aunt's gone through the same thing. But you can't say just because someone else has gone through, I'm going to go through that.
Yeah.
You know, that just like, okay, you're being very negative.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a very personal, you know, it's a personal choice.
It's not only that, it's not only, you know, what is happening on the abuse system, there's children involved.
Yeah, I mean, that once, but let me just clarify.
There may not be one, there could be many children involved, left with the other parent, and for the parent to bring them up on their own. And that is where you call the abuse system.
No, that's the consequences.
That's the
I think that's the
consequences.
consequences of the abuse of the system, the spouse visa system. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, once a spouse has obtained his or her British passport or the indefinite leave to remain, they leave you. The Home Office are not going to do anything about it.
No, they're not.
They don't do anything about it because the burden is on you. You chose to bring that partner.
That's right.
You chose to get married out there.
That's right.
And then you can't, you know, cry about it.
So what are we trying to say here? Are we creating awareness for the people out there that are looking to get married abroad, that have cousins, have relatives, have families, or have loved ones that live overseas and they would like to get married to them? Are we creating awareness and stating that they need to think about it?
That's one thing. Do you know, within our community, within the certain communities anyway, that's one thing. I think, you know, it's fair to say we lived in a kind of a denial world because the abuse is there, but they think it's not going to happen to me. But it may happen to anyone. And we need to be careful on that. First of all, okay, we want to, I mean, this is my kind of advice, I suppose, and my opinion as well, from my professional background. If one chooses to marry somebody from abroad, first of all, check the background. I mean, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. At least you can get the basic facts right. Okay, and then safeguard yourself. So, okay, this is what is in an event.
Have you heard of the motto, love is blind?
No. Well, I have actually.
No one goes to that level.
Yeah, but this is my advice.
No one goes to that length. No one goes to that level. When you love somebody, that's where one goes wrong. And that's when they get bitten.
That's when one goes wrong, because my motto, I mean, it's similar, you know, I've seen and heard so many stories, like you said, motto, love is blind. But this is where, you know, one needs to learn from this, you know, this motto doesn't work.
It's not to learn, it's just to create awareness, because the after effects are not very nice.
Yeah, but let me just come back. You know, what I said was, once you decide to get married to somebody abroad, you do the basic checks, okay, as anyone would do, and then obviously, you know, safeguard yourself. This is, if you have an asset here, okay, have a prenuptial agreement, because what happens is, I've seen and heard stories where one owns a property here. spouse comes over here, their marriage is legally recognized, and then what happens when they leave? If and when they leave,
do you
they
really
want
seriously? Do you really seriously think our community or somebody from our community will go ahead and have a prenuptial agreement?
they have an ikanama, that's a dowry.
Okay.
But in this country, it's not enforceable, it's not even recognized. Okay?
It's not
but,
even recognised
but
in this
I'm
country,
saying
people
in
are
our
still
community.
coming here and they're being allowed to come here. So are you really think they are going to go into that system where they're going to do a prenuptial
They need to
agreement?
learn. They need to learn. This is, this is the future cases. I'm saying, you need to safeguard yourself.
But that's a bit harsh.
I totally agree.
That's a bit harsh on another partner. If you say, sorry, but you can only marry me if you
Yeah, but if
agreement.
if the other partner is genuinely, loving, good intention,
That's right. Yeah.
they won't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
but then sometimes it can offend somebody in that way by
do you know what? In my
do you
opinion,
not trust me? Is there no trust in the relationship?
if that happens, then there is a obstacle right at the beginning. I would think twice.
Okay.
And I would advise anyone watching to think twice, because you need to safeguard your position. It's a difficult world out there.
That's
and
right,
it's
yeah.
lovely. It's nice to have,
everything.
marry somebody who's going to be living with you happily ever after. It's nice to have somebody from, back home, from your culture and religion and everything else. But at the end of the day, who's going to suffer at the end? The person who's trusted that person.
Yeah.
So who's going to cry at the end? Who's going to suffer the consequences? Like you said, and we come back to the dilemmas of the consequences.
That's right.
Like you said, the children.
The children.
When they leave.
Yeah.
What happens when one leaves the
there's no
single
support,
parenting.
there's no backup, and then the children go into wrong things because they don't have a father figure around them, and it's very sad. It's very sad.
But not only because they don't have the father. What about the consequences of the dilemmas? The effects from the community on single parents as well who are left. The stigma.
Yeah, the stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Yeah.
What is the solutions for this?
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is you need to safeguard. You need to be aware of these, issues are happening. There's a problem. There's the abuse of the visa system. You just needs to be able to think for themselves, think ahead.
That's right, yeah.
This is their future.
I mean, the system's never going to change. I mean, they're not going to permanently stop anybody coming or falling in love with somebody abroad or getting married or bringing them over the country. Yes, they have put these limits on of 18,500, which is, making people think again.
Yeah.
Because I had this one lady who was in love with her cousin abroad, and she said, sorry, but I don't have that limit to bring them over, and I'm not going to go and get married to him. So that's stopped her
that's fine, yeah.
for doing what she feels that, she couldn't afford or to get herself into that system. Even the other day, I was telling you just earlier on about that program I watched on BBC Three about that girl that went over and said that she wanted to see the experience of marrying her cousin and bringing him over here and seeing what the life would be. There could be many things.
Was she born and brought up here?
Yes, she was.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
And she wanted to go because her mum and dad had got married and they were cousins years ago, and she wanted to experience to see what it's like bringing somebody from a different background, a different upbringing, and bringing them over here. And it's not only, Klima, it's not only a spouse walking away with a mindset of having a stay in this country.
Do you know what?
Sometimes
The spouse,
what it is,
Klima, go on.
sometimes what it is,
Yeah.
is that it's a different lifestyle. We've been brought up differently,
Okay.
and they have different principles. And sometimes it's a culture shock to them.
Are you saying, they can't handle the strong-minded women then?
Men.
Men,
Strong-minded women
let's
No.
rephrase it. Women are sort of Western,
No,
and
it's
the
a
men
lifestyle.
are,
It's the lifestyle.
Western.
The
Is it the lifestyle? Is
can
it the Western lifestyle?
It's the Western lifestyle. Sometimes it
don't-
can be, because they have been come from a completely different background, and sometimes what it is, it's a stronger position of another.
But
person,
shouldn't they change though? Shouldn't they change? They come to somebody else's country.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but they come to a Western country fully knowing whoever the spouses they're marrying would be.
People can't change. I mean, they adapt to the situation, yes, but you can't change a person entirely of what their principles are and what their values are and how they've been brought up and where they've come from.
Let's take a break. We'll
Yeah.
come back to the discussion later. welcome back. Artika, let's talk about this. We were talking about the abuse of
That's
the
right.
visa system.
That's right.
After all that discussion, I think it's fair to say that you can't rely on the Home Office or
That's
any other
right.
authorities
That's
because
right.
the system is there. It was designed for your own benefit, or
That's right.
you know, so it on individual benefit.
Aklima, there's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of advice. There's a lot of research. And people need to go into that situation and think before they go ahead and make that step. And then we will not have these situations come forward and people seeking help because they've been left, and their children have been left and partners have run off and so on. I know it will never go away, but it can be avoided.
Yes, I think you're right. To be honest with you, okay, it happens, and it has happened on so many occasions. But wouldn't you say that that's not the end of the world? Seek help.
No.
Before you get married to somebody abroad, seek help. Wouldn't you not agree? Seek advice. Seek advice, like you said.
I'm coming away from the topic, but I think everybody needs to seek help, or not help, but advice
before they even,
and do their research when they take the plunge with anybody.
Yeah, that's with everywhere. But if you're marrying somebody abroad, you have to take extra precaution.
That's right.
Have you got the means to support?
That's right.
The person who's going to come over here, they have, will they be able to, maintain or work?
That's right.
Can they speak the language? Are you gonna, are they gonna adapt? These are sort of things. Love shouldn't be blinded.
No, that's right.
Or you shouldn't be blinded by love.
That's right.
Okay, I think you have to be practical. Wouldn't you say? And then I think what's happened is, if it does happen, okay, you are left because somebody's got the visas and they don't want you anymore. Don't think that's the end of the world.
No.
Wouldn't you say?
I mean, a lot of people, they lose their willpower. And they just don't seek any advice. They don't go to anyone, and they suffer in silence. And and I feel strongly that I'm so grateful for you having me on this show today, because generally coming on to regarding this topic, because I want to create the awareness, and I want to tell people out there that there is, loads of help.
Yeah, well, for myself, for example.
Yeah, of course.
I do both the family and immigration. And to be honest with you, there are free advice as well. You've got the Citizens Advice Bureau and so on and so on. So don't suffer in silence.
That's right.
And sort the situation before it goes to worse situation, before the children are suffering.
That's right.
And I think this is all you can say. If something did happen, if there is an abusive system, please don't suffer in silence. Seek help. There are lawyers out there. There are other professionals, doctors, GPs.
Well, come forward on this show and give your opinions and your topic. If anybody's got a story to tell,
that's
anybody
right.
has
That's
suffered, or anybody's suffering in the system at the moment, or feels that this is unfair or fair, come forward and email us, and it'll be nice.
Yes,
to share.
it'll be great, because we've been talking about it, but we've been talking about it out of our own experience. So please do give us your comments. On the email or the social media. We'd love to hear from you, because we don't want to just talk about it. We want to know your comments, your views as well, and see, how we can create this awareness, how we can create a solution. Because at the end of the day, it's your voice. Okay, and we want to create a solution.
And we surely want to sort of avoid the consequences of this whole system. So
we can't eliminate it, but at least we can help.
You can avoid
We
it.
can help.
Yeah.
There is help and advice available. So please do come forward. We are here to listen to you. So we'd love to hear from you again, either on social media or by email. Please do let us know. Thank you. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.